Hello. Today we are looking at feudalism in medieval Japan. Now, we did this together in class as a page of notes, and I'm putting this here as a way of helping people go back if they missed something or if they didn't understand something. So, feudalism in medieval Japan. So, our first thing we want to do is answer the question, what is feudalism? So, we have a four-part answer to this. First is, it's the economic, social, and political system that organized medieval Japan. What this means is economic means it has to do with money. Okay? Social meaning what your social status is. Are you a higher ranking person? Are you a lower ranking person? And that includes the way people were allowed to live, and in a sense, how special they were. And political, meaning who actually has the power to run the government, the country. So what this basically means is in feudalism, the people who have the economic power are also the social elites, the people at the top. And they are the people who have the political power. So basically, you have a group of people who have all of the economic, the social, and the political power. And it's very similar to feudal Europe also. Power in a feudal system is based on ownership and control of the land. Land, the original source of power in civilization, human civilization, is agriculture. You have to have food. The extra food you grow becomes a source of wealth. In medieval Japan, one of the original types of currency was actually rice. So if you control the land, you control what comes from the land, and that gives you power. Your place in this type of society is based on the family you're born into. If you're born into a poor family with low status, then you are going to live your life poor with low status. If you were lucky enough to be born into a high-ranking, wealthy, powerful family, then you're going to live out your life with power and money and high status. And of course, maybe the simplest way to remember this, feudalism is land is based on, land equals power. Okay, you get rich by owning land, and that wealth you produce from that land makes you powerful. So we drew a pyramid. We drew the three lines here. Each section is a little bit bigger than the previous one. The one at the bottom, of course, is the largest. Okay, this line here that you put the X's across is called the line. Okay, and what we refer to this in the way is, are you above the line or below the line? And I had you put the X's on there because it's like barbed wire. This is a line you do not cross, like a barbed wire fence. Okay, above the line, at the very top, is the shogun, not the emperor. The shogun. The shogun is the military commander of medieval Japan. He is a person. The first shogun was literally a person who conquered the country again. And when he conquered the country, he made a deal with the emperor. The shogun said, I am the power of this nation. I am going to run the country. I have the victorious armies. I have the samurai warriors. And the emperor said, I can deal with that. Sort of paraphrasing. The shogun did not kill the emperor, though, because he needed the emperor for something. The emperor is not going to be a part of this pyramid. He is not a part of running the country. The emperor became a figurehead ruler, meaning he is there for the symbolism of it, the symbolic ruler, because he's a god. And so he acted as a high priest. His job was to pray to the kami, the gods and goddesses of Shinto, to make sure that the heavens were happy with the people of Japan. And at the same time, the emperor told the people, be sure that you obey the shogun. So the shogun runs the country. Next in line come the daimyo. They are regional warlords. These are the people who help the shogun run the country. Each daimyo has a region of the country that they are in charge of. So in their area, they are like a mini version of the shogun in their territory. And all of these territories put together then are ruled by the shogun. So the daimyo owe loyalty to the shogun. And you'll notice that they are warlords, meaning they have armies. That's how you run a country in feudalism, is with warriors, which gives us the next section, samurai. The samurai warriors are the warrior soldiers of this civilization, of this society. Just like in Europe. In Europe, we would call them knights. In Japan, they are called samurais, and they are essentially almost exactly the same group of people. So altogether, you should have the shogun, then daimyo, and samurai. As numbers go, there can only ever be one shogun at a time. The daimyo were probably about 250 to 300 daimyo throughout the country. And then you have perhaps as many as 1 million samurai for a country with 18 million people total. Altogether, the people above the line are referred to as aristocrats or nobles. They essentially mean the same thing. Sometimes we hear the term aristocrats, sometimes we hear the word noble. It means the same thing. So those are the people above the line. The people below the line are known as peasants. They make up about 90% of a feudal society. Of medieval Japan was 90% were peasant, okay? Which means that 10% are above the line. The peasant groups are farmers, artisans, and merchants, and that's the order. Farmers have a higher status than artisans and merchants, okay? And merchants are at the very bottom. Farmers are important because, of course, they grow food, and you can't have anything without a food supply. Okay, artisans, the picture there on the upper right, is showing us a swordsmith. So artisans are people who are skilled at a craft, whether it's weaving and sewing clothing, woodwork, like to be a carpenter, a swordsmith, someone who makes pottery. That's their skill. So they rank just beneath the farmers, and at the very bottom are the merchants, just like in medieval China. The merchants don't produce anything new. They just buy and they sell. And because they didn't produce anything new, they were looked down on. Also, they cause prices to go up. So people don't like that. And just like in China, merchants are traders. They travel around and they deal with outsiders, foreigners. And yes, farmers, artisans, and merchants are at the bottom, but the merchants were at the very bottom, meaning there were restrictions on their lives, where they could live, literally the size of home they could live in, the kind of clothing they wore. They had many, many restrictions on them because they were seen as the bottom of the bottom. So your pyramid would look like something like this at this point. So we're going to ask a question. What do the aristocrats do? Why do the aristocrats have all the power? Remember, they have the social status, they have the economic power, the money, and they run the country. What do they do? What is their job? Well, very simply put, it's a warrior class. They provide law and order and protection in war. If Japan is attacked, they go and fight, not the peasants. That's their job. That's what makes them special. They provide law and order. They are like the government and the police and the army all put together. So the peasants don't deal with anything of that. That is all their responsibility. And by providing that, that makes them powerful, the aristocrats. So we know what the peasants do. Why do the peasants do all of this? What do they owe the people above them? Well, they owe respect. Everybody in this, even samurai and daimyo, owe respect to the people who outrank you. So the higher up you go, everybody has to have respect and show respect. And this is very, very serious, life and death serious. A samurai warrior, as a nobleman, as an aristocrat, has so much power that they could kill a peasant, any peasant who they said or they believed were disrespectful to them. So the nobles have an immense amount of power. I mean, like life and death. So the peasants, for obvious reasons, you learned very quickly. You have to be respectful of the people who outrank you. Labor. Oftentimes, peasants must work for their lord, if it's a samurai, a daimyo, or the shogun. Let's say 2 days a week. You actually would have to go to their land, their property, and you would have to work for them for free. That's what you do. They owe taxes. If you're a farmer, you pay taxes with the food you grow. And most of what you grow as a farmer goes to the nobles as a tax. If you're an artisan, you would give whatever it is you make to them. Or if you're a merchant, whatever products you buy and you sell, you have to give some of it to the nobles. Doesn't seem fair, but that's how life is. And of course, you must be obedient. Okay, peasants must be obedient. They must do exactly what they are told. They do not question, they don't have arguments, they don't tell their local daimyo or the shogun, well, you should be doing it this way, or have you ever thought of this? Not at all. There's no questioning involved. They must be obedient, period. With all of that said, you might wonder, well, what holds all of this together? Why did Japan have this system, an unequal system, where 10% of the people control almost 100% of the wealth? They have almost all of the power and all of the status. What held that together for like 700 years? Why did the aristocrats get to have all of that? And why didn't the people below the line, the peasants, why didn't they rebel against the people above the line? Because in our world, we're told to take things into your own hands, and if you don't like your situation, do something about it. Like we have elections to choose our leaders. Right? They didn't do that back then. The first answer to all of these questions is religion. The religion of Shinto tells people that the emperor is a god. Okay, that's why the shogun left him alive. He's a god. And in exchange for staying alive, the emperor told the people of Japan, all of the people, obey the shogun. Anybody who outranks you, you must obey them. That's what the gods want you to do. So for the peasants to rebel against the nobles, they're going against their religion, and that's a very powerful thing. Next, the obvious answer, right? I mean, the nobles got to be in charge not because they were nice or kindly or they won an election. They are in charge because they are warriors. And if you don't do what they say, they can kill you. And the other one, which might be the most strange to us, is very simply tradition. That's just how life is. You're born a peasant, that's what it is. Okay? So people don't question this system because they're not taught to question things. They're told to obey and do what they're told, and that's just how life is. It's very different than what we're used to as modern Americans. So I hope these notes made sense. And again, if you have any questions about any of this, send me an email or come to my office hours. Have a nice day.